Ready? Play.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
Number 11, Marta Kostyuk. Number 10, Paula Badosa. Number 9, Barbora Krejcikova. Number 8, Jasmine Paolini. Number 7, Elena Rybakina. Number 6, Danielle Collins. Number 5, Zhang Qinwen. Number 4, Coco Gauff. Number 3, Jessica Pegula. Number 2, Iga Świątek. And number 1, for the first time in my power rankings history, Aryna Sabalenka.
Ready? Play.
Quick refresh on my top 10. Number 10, Andre Rublev. Number 9, Tommy Paul. Number 8, Francis Tiafoe. Number 7, Ben Shelton. Number 6, Taylor Fritz. Number 5, Daniel Medvedev. Number 4, Alexander Zverev. Number 3, Novak Djokovic. Number 2, Jannik Sinner. And number 1, Carlos Alcaraz. Do let me know your thoughts on my power rankings. Get in those comments below. And tell me whether you agree or disagree. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
Ready? Play.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis. Have on chauffeur. Shisha.
That's what I'm talking about. Coco Gauff, a U.S. Open champion. That's what I'm talking about. Oh my God. Look at her. Look at her. Oh. Oh.
Oh my God.
Ready? Play.
My name is Clara Towson and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Summers and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Number 11, Marta Kostyuk. Number 10, Paula Badosa. Number 9, Barbora Krejcikova. Number 8, Jasmine Paolini. Number 7, Elena Rybakina. Number 6, Danielle Collins. Number 5, Zhangqin Wen. Number 4, Coco Gauff. Number 3, Jessica Pegula. Number 2, Iga Swiatek. And number 1, for the first time in my power rankings history, Arina Sabalenka.
Just one in English. The draw for the French Open was made today. You're going to be playing Kalinskaya.
Oh. I just said I don't want to know.
Should we leave it there, Vinny? If that was your only question, is it tennis?
I mean, just okay.
No,
Just
I don't want to answer on that. I don't want to know.
no problem.
Yeah.
We can move on. But
Thank you.
good luck.
Thanks.
Any more questions in French? C'est bon?
Oui, c'est sûr.
Just one in English. The draw for the French Open was made today. You're going to be playing Kalinskaya.
Oh. I just said I don't want to know.
Should we leave it there, Vinny? If that was your only question, is it tennis?
I mean, just okay.
No,
Just
I don't want to answer on that. I don't want to know.
no problem.
Yeah.
We can move on. But
Thank you.
good luck.
Thanks.
Any more questions in French? C'est bon?
Ready? Play. Oh, I was on mute and I said hello, hello, and I don't think anybody heard me. And another reason why nobody heard me because my mic was nowhere near my mouth. That's the reason why. Andre, I can't hear you for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. Oh, now I can.
Oh, okay. I might not just. I think I was just not speaking. So yeah.
How are you?
No reason for people not to hear you if you don't talk.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Yourself?
I'm pretty good.
I just saw a video of you reacting to Coco's last year victory at the U.S. Open.
Did that play on the stream?
It did.
Oh, brother.
And I must say, I did not know you were capable of reaching that pitch.
It is my proudest and also maybe not my proudest moment, but yeah, at least it was genuine.
Yeah, it was very real.
We'll see what happens tonight. We're not looking at two Grand Slam champions, but we are looking at two pretty steady American women that have had their say in the second week of slams for the past couple of seasons. Pegula more specifically in the more recent, and then Shelby Rogers, I believe. I know she has one French Open quarterfinal. I want to say she has a second one too, maybe possibly. I'm not 100% sure.
She has reached the French Open quarterfinals in 2016 and U.S. Open quarterfinals in 2020. So yeah, it's good results.
Yeah. In that 2020 U.S. Open run to the quarters, she beat Kvitova. I mean, it was awkward circumstances in the middle of the pandemic, but I remember that. Yeah. And then Pegula has been reaching quarterfinals pretty much every season since 2021. So, except this season. She doesn't have a Grand Slam quarterfinal to her credit this season at all.
Really?
Yeah. Australian Open, she got defeated, I want to say, in the second round to Clara Burrell. French Open, she didn't play, And then Wimbledon, she went out in the second, maybe third round to Wang Jinyu of China. So yeah, no second week of a major for Pegula so far in this Grand Slam season.
Wow. Yeah, it's 2 second rounds, and I guess in her homeland is a very good opportunity to change that this season.
Yeah, and then obviously the big underlying or overlying story is that Shelby Rogers announced that this would be her last professional tournament. She's been dealing with some knee injuries for the past couple of years and said that, you know, she would always call time on her career when she felt that her body told her to. And she said it got to that point and she announced it. So,
yeah, there we are. You could either be seeing a very good win and a very Cinderella story tournament, beating a top 10 player, Jessica Pegula, or it could just be watching her final match of her career. Will the US Open be the last tournament that she's playing, or she says she's playing until the season ends?
With her ranking, I don't think that there are too many like main tour tournaments that she would be able to get into. So I'm assuming that the US Open is going to be the very last. And I think she explicitly said so on her Instagram post that she made public. So
yeah, that would make sense. It's always a good tournament for Americans to end their careers at.
Yep.
Wouldn't. If you have a home slam, it's more than normal that you choose to finish there.
Any momentum to getting Canada a Grand Slam one of these days?
Me in doubles, I think I have a good chance. I have a hard time thinking about players like if Bianca Andreescu can get her ranking up, maybe. Right now, she's gonna run into those situations where she just lost to a top 10 player, Jasmine Paolini, and if she's not seeded, that's gonna keep happening, and it's only gonna make it harder. But yeah, I don't really see anyone on the men's side making waves.
It's been a tough day for Canadians, unfortunately. Felix lost. Felix, Layla, and Bianca all lost today, but Gabriel Diallo. Oh, and Dennis. Wow. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
But Gabriel Diallo got a win, so there's still a Canadian flag flying.
Yeah. It's kind of a vindication moment for me almost, because I remember before Wimbledon started in Talking Tennis stream, I said that Diallo is like my biggest current hope for Canadian tennis. I feel like he's one of the most complete players right now. He's really good in defense, got a big serve, can fix his forehand a little bit, but is getting there. And he was the only Canadian who didn't make it to the second round in Wimbledon. But now he's the only Canadian who makes it to the second round in this Grand Slam. So I feel like it
all comes full circle.
It's a good moment, yeah. It was just a little too early, but I was right. What do you expect from this match?
Part of me really expects a kind of, workman-like performance from Pegula. Maybe not her sharpest, because she is playing somebody that she's very familiar with and close with off the court. But I don't believe she's ever dropped a professional match to Shelby. So like there's some things that kind of overweigh the personal things she may be feeling about ending Shelby's career. Just the matchup just might fall Pegula's way as it has in the past. So yeah, I'm expecting a straight set win for Pegula, but I mean, this may be a little far-fetched, but Shelby Rogers can do some big hitting on a tennis court, and if she ever gets hot and really opens up her shoulders, Pegula has shown over her career that she can kind of get moved around the court by a big hitter. So yeah, I mean, but that's a big if. Shelby doesn't really have any momentum or form or wins to go off of in recent periods. So a big ask for her to get this win.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those moments where, since it's her retirement soon, it's possible that she might just kind of be a little bit more loose and just kind of like say, what the heck? Like, why should I even be afraid of this, and it's good in terms of the body as well. They tend to care a little bit less whether they're going to be fit for months to come or like the next tournament, because there's no next tournament, so they can kind of take the time that they need to heal.
Mhm.
And yeah, this can be dangerous for players, and it could be an interesting match. And I think if she decides that she's just going to try to hit as hard as she can and just be on the offense of the whole time, it's gonna take Pegula being sharp to weather the storm and not necessarily let this kind of slip through her fingers, especially in the best of 3 tennis. That's things that can happen a lot more often.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we had some best of 3 tennis and some of the best of 5 matches today, like the Dan Evans and Karen Khachanov match being the longest U.S. Open match ever in the first round. Like, on one hand, like, oh, that's a great headline, but on the other, it's like they did all of that work to get to the second round, and realistically, whoever would have won that match is likely not going to have all the things they need to be able to compete in 24 to 48 hours when it's time for round 2. So,
Yeah, it's
And you know what I would actually, because I've been on the grounds of the U.S. Open, this is tangential to I guess I'll make this make sense to the Rogers and Pegula match, but for that 5-hour and change match, I'd love to talk to the person who sat there from the beginning to the end. I'd love to talk to that person if that person exists. Whereas like a Shelby Rogers match, like a Shelby Rogers and Jessica Pegula match that starts a little after 11:30, or excuse me, a little after 10:30 New York time, on a Tuesday where you may not have to work the next day, that seems like friendly, casual fan, get out of the house just because kind of viewing. And you get that because you're only going to be there for a more finite amount of time because it's best of 3,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially because it's a Tuesday night. It's 10:40.
Yeah.
Like how many people need to be at work at 8 or 9 a.m. tomorrow?
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know how many of these people are taking the subway in New York, or taking the car and driving around. But I can't imagine traffic is amazing.
I doubt too many cars. Yeah, I doubt too many cars are happening because New York traffic is crazy, even on a Tuesday night. Yeah. But I for a long time I didn't love the fact that the U.S. Open switched their. I've always loved the fact that they chose a women's match and a men's match to go prime time. That's always been like one of their pillars of equality. But when they switched it or made it I guess fair game for women to do the last match instead of always the first match, I didn't love that because you would essentially be kind of cutting them off at the knee as far as how the environment at their match could be, especially if the men's match went the full 5 sets,
Yeah.
Unless it was a match featuring Venus, Serena, Sharapova, or some other name that was like really hot at the time. Unfortunately, knowing what we know about tennis fans and how they prioritize the ATP over WTA and how, there's a marketing issue between those two organizations, a lot of people leave. And it doesn't have the same atmosphere that they say they want for a primetime match,
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to balance, right? It's if you put only the men's match second, it's probably going to draw a few comments here and there. I'm not sure exactly. Like, I feel like tennis scheduling is a nightmare almost no matter what situation you put yourself into.
Yeah, it's tough.
But yeah, I think I'm not sure if we're walking towards it, but at least it was interesting to hear Djokovic speaking that he might be open to like playing first couple of rounds in the Grand Slams in best of 3 and the final, maybe quarterfinals up to final in best of 5. And I think this could translate well for both tours. I think
did he say that recently? Like, did he say that at the media at this tournament?
I don't think it was this tournament, but I think he said it maybe after or during the Olympics. I believe so. I would have to figure it out. But it was in the press conference. He said that. I'm not sure if I'm paraphrasing something that I've read that was already paraphrased, but something along those lines. Possibly, maybe someone in the comments will know what I'm talking about if they're there. But yeah.
Well, it's funny he mentioned the Olympics, because I mentioned the Olympics on the last stream I was on as like that tournament way back in 2008 being a precedent for how you can actually switch up the scoring or match format in the middle of a tournament and nobody really bat an eyelash or kind of wreak havoc about it. Because I remember the 2008 Beijing Olympics, all of the matches for the men were best of 3 up until the gold medal match, and the gold medal match was best of 5. So it's possible to have like even though that's like on the smaller extreme of a hybrid format, it still is a hybrid because you're playing best of 3 and best of 5 in a tournament. I would just like to see the best of 5 format be pushed to like the quarterfinal stage where, you know, realistically there's the most on the line. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it used to be that way, like for a bunch of the Masters and the men's tour and the final of the ATP Cup. Not the ATP Cup, the ATP it used to be called Masters Cup. Now the Nido ATP Finals used to be best of 5. That was a very classic match that Federer lost to David Nalbandian from 2 sets to love up.
Was that in Houston?
2005.
Was that in the Houston one?
I think Houston. I think so. It might have been. Because he was in Houston for a good stretch of time in the 2000s, yeah. What do you think of Pegula's sleeves?
I knew you were going to ask me that, Andre. I like the concept of almost everything about this Adidas outfit except the pleats at the bottom. It kind of just makes it too busy. I like the fact that like there's some kind of funky asymmetrical cutout of the sleeves, because that's, you know, that draws attention to the outfit, but sometimes you don't need 2 things to draw attention, and like the fact that there's busy pleats at the bottom is a little much, but the color is really, really cool. I like that color of purple quite a bit.
Yeah, I like the idea. I think I agree with you. I think the concept is good, but at first when I looked at it, it just looked like she had like one of those like mini jackets that it's basically just the sleeves on top, until I realized it's actually part of the dress.
I know what you're talking about.
So, yeah. But it's I like that they're willing to try things. But yeah, I don't think this one was a win as a final result. Maybe a win in that they actually did something interesting.
I wonder how the Shelby Rogers super fans feel, because they really, you know, I kind of stay in my bubble. Well, I don't stay in a bubble, but from what I see, like about people talking about women's tennis, Shelby's name doesn't really come up too often in like spaces of WTA super fans. She's like a 3rd or 4th tier like name that gets mentioned, and maybe we should mention her more because she just broke Pegula to go up 3-2. But I'm wondering what her fans are thinking about like this final match. Like, do they think she has a shot? I'm sure they do, but like, is it actually realistic, you know?
Yeah. I think if she has a chance, I think it's going to be in 2 sets. I think she can win it in straight sets. Pegula. I think Pegula has the quality in her that she can turn this into a grind fest if she needs to. And I think that could be the thing that breaks Rogers at the end. So because I think that Pegula has that sort of all-around game that she can do a lot of things, none of them exceptionally great, but she can hang around in the court. So if she can start absorbing and getting more used to the rhythm from Rogers hitting, starts to return a little bit better, I think it could be tough. So I think that Rogers, for her to win this match, she needs to keep her foot on the gas
and hit big return windows like she did to break Pegula's serve. Fair enough. I can see it. I can't. It's tough for me to envision a straight sets win for Shelby Rogers because those have been very few and far between in general let alone somebody of like Pegula's caliber. But I do understand the sentiment. Like if she's going to do this, it's going to have to be hard, fast, and quick. So
Yeah.
He's off to a good start. Up a break in the first 5 games of the match.
Yeah. By the way, the stats that you see on the screen right now, they're wrong. Pegula did not hit 95% of her first serves in. It's quite a ways from that. She's at 50%. Rogers at 55. But Pegula's been winning. Whoa. What I'm saying that is actually wrong because Rogers has the feat of winning 117% of her first serves.
That's what Google Stats is saying?
That's what Flash Score is saying. But I think now I'm just going to have to look at the US Open's website for stats because everywhere is a bit crazy right now.
Sometimes I feel like the stat people in tennis matches or tennis tournaments are fast asleep, which, you know what? Honestly, I kind of give them a little grace for because the thought crossed my mind earlier today, I want to say, or maybe I think I was just watching a YouTube video, and you know Blair Henley on social media, right? She does a lot of tennis emceeing, specifically at the US Open. She was interviewing Francis Tiafoe after his match last night. And like based off of following her on socials, I know she's at the grounds way earlier than the start of play to kind of prepare for her duties. And to still be there at like 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock at night is like more than a 12-hour day. So the stats people who are doing the data analytics behind the sports of it all and behind the numbers of the Open, they're just behind the scenes and not as visible, but they're there just as long. So that kind of boggles my mind. And this is a 2-week event, so they have to do this every day for 2 weeks. So yeah, they deserve a lot of credit for they deserve credit for giving us the numbers, but sometimes it's way off, and I guess I'll give them that grace for why it's off because it's a lot to go through, especially in the first couple of rounds when it's match after match after match after match, you know? So
yeah. To be honest, like this is like a huge tech issue because I remember when I was working in the Montreal tournament, we had an issue once with that, and we just kind of had to shut down the stats or something on the website, just like we just can't show it because like it's just not coming through, and it's just a matter of connecting a certain feed or stream. So yeah, the stats guys are probably very much pissed about this because they probably are getting everything perfectly right and everything else is just messed up. Something is not connecting properly and it's just not showing anything right now anywhere. So yeah. But yeah, no, absolutely credit for these guys. They have to be there like early, brief what it is going to look like, identify the matches they're going to do, and be prepared to stay until 2 a.m.
Until it's all done. Yeah. Yeah. Tennis. Nothing like
tennis. Yeah. Long live best of 5, I guess.
I won't be going to that parade, but hey.
Yeah.
There's some
sarcastic.
I understand the tennis purists that really don't want to get rid of it because I don't want to get rid of it in totality altogether. I do see the significance of why the format exists. I just think in the context of how we live now in society and the things people do and how the points are constructed, I just think it'll be beneficial to limit best of 5, not get rid of it, but just limit it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we went a bit in the right direction as well with the super tie break at the end of the 5th set. I think it's better than.
Oh, that'd be cool too. Like if a 5th set, like if the actual 5th set just was the tiebreaker to 10, that would be awesome. Like if you played would that be considered best of 4 or still best of 5, with the 5th set being a tiebreaker?
It's a best of 5, but your last set is a super tiebreak. I don't like that idea. I think it's anticlimactic, but I like it at the end of the full set, a tiebreak of 10 points. I think it's great. But yeah, I fully agree that I feel like that then we should be starting to be open to discussing formats and length, and length most of all of them because it's long, man.
It's one of the few sports that like it's unpredictable in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Most of all, the timing of a match. A match could be literally 45 minutes or 4 hours and 45 minutes under like the same circumstances. Like Novak Djokovic versus Carlos Alcaraz best of 3 final in Cincinnati was over 3 hours, and then in that same format, a match could be over in 45 minutes. So that's a broad range of possibilities.
Yeah, you get like Alcaraz versus Djokovic in the Cincinnati final, and then you get Pliskova and Swiatek in the Rome final. It's like 6-love. The match is over before you can even get your popcorn.
Yep, and both of those are best of 3 sets. So yeah. Pliskova got a tough win today. She beat Mayar Sharif in the first round.
Good grind.
Pliskova is also now signed to Adidas, so she's wearing the same purple color that Pegula is, by the way. Pegula's a little loose from the ground, by the way, from the ground and the serve, because she gets to the double fault and then she gave away another free point to have another hole, love 30.
At the very least, she got a break back, so it's kind of looking like one of those matches where it's going to take a bit of a minute before a player gets a little bit more settled in. Yeah.
That's something else I find about tennis that's really fascinating. Is like yes, you're trained to do things really like monotonously, like the same thing over and over again, the same forehand, the same backhands, the same serve, but the way in which you do it and like the emotion and like the fever behind it, because it's only you, all of those idiosyncrasies can really shape how you actually perform. Because I'm sure in this match, as much as Pegula said like in the pre-match interview that she's going to focus on her side of the net, which I'm sure she's trying to do, I'm sure somewhere in the back of her brain she's thinking about the fact that this is Shelby Rogers. We probably have seen or watched countless movies together, and I could possibly be the one that ends her career. Like, I can imagine that creeps into how you hit a forehand. And there's no one else to pass the ball to kind of counteract some of those feelings. So it's just you juggling all of those things at the same time and having to perform with just your ability on the line. So
yeah, it's definitely a thing too. How do you focus? Like all the exercises that those players have, they practice mental exercises too, just to be able to, just to focus and not allow the intrusive thoughts to creep in. And it's definitely one of the toughest things.
Yeah. Pegula was able to fight off one of those break points though in this service game. Shelby's doing what she was synonymous with in her 2021 match against Ash Barty that she won. Remember all those like really high looping forehands she hit? She's thrown a couple of those in against Pegula.
Yeah, it's like one of those. I don't know if you play tennis games at all or any sort of sports games, but every game has a little bit of a something, like a sort of like a glitch that you can kind of exploit, and then the game kind of doesn't become a simulation anymore. It just becomes who can exploit that better. But like sometimes I would say maybe a purist, I like to try to like not use the glitch so that I can try to play the game as it's supposed to be played. And I feel like moonballs are like the glitch in real life. It's like, it is a good strategy. It helps so much to resettle the point. Sometimes you can even just kind of get like a freak winner where the ball just drops so far away that you cannot even reach it anymore. I think it happened to Sakari not too long ago, where she just kind of got unintentionally lobbed as the ball just bounced over her head. But I feel like it's just the type of kind of like the underarm serve as well. Like you're not supposed to play like this. Yeah,
it's legal. It's illegal, and it can get the job done, but it's not something that's widely practiced. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's not even like you're doing gamesmanship or anything. It's just you're just messing around with your opponent's head. That's
Yeah,
what it is.
I mean, if I was going up against Medvedev, who is notorious for standing back 9 feet behind the baseline to return serve, and I already wasn't really feeling the most confident in my baseline game, of course I would try to exploit the fact that he stands that far back and try to implement an underarm serve. Actually, now that I say that, people don't do it enough. It should be something that it should be something, if you're trying to exploit a player that stands that far back, it shouldn't just be like a once a match type of thing. It should be something that you incorporate so that your opponent really does stay on their toes and they really don't know which one you're going to do, if you can disguise it well.
Yeah. It's definitely an interesting strategy. I thought it was really interesting when Bublik started doing it so much, because I thought it was just a gimmick, but it actually can work. If it works, why not just keep doing it?
We have our resident troll. We have our resident troll in the comments saying that we're struggling to keep on the topic of Pegula and Rogers. I mean, I'll be honest and say that this isn't necessarily the match I would have put in the marquee primetime slot, but I do respect the USTA for giving Shelby Rogers this opportunity for a big send-off. I respect that. And Pegula is and has been a very consistent player for U.S. women's tennis and just U.S. tennis in general. She really has been. So, although she might not be the most marketable or like recognizable face on the women's tour, her results are still what they are, and they should be respected. So it's not always about who is the finest draw for primetime slots. Not always. That's definitely a factor, but not always.
Yeah. I mean, Pegula has really picked up her game when she came back to North America, like winning. Her just defending her crown in Canada and reaching the final in Cincinnati. It was really good. So I think that just gives her like a bump of confidence, and puts her maybe a little bit higher up in the power rankings. I don't know exactly what were Nick's power rankings for the US Open.
Pretty sure Nick had her somewhere in the top 7, maybe 6, because I watched that.
That sounds like a good number, but yeah. So I think that I could see her. I don't know, man. I'm really bad at remembering who's in whose draws, but if things go her way, I think she can finally break this the quarterfinal curse.
Did I just hear thunder?
Yeah, it's near my place. It's in my place.
It sounded so like near me. I was like, wait, I didn't know it was raining outside.
It was horribly loud.
Okay. But I do have a question on the topic of Pegula, finding her form better, and it's the age-old question with Pegula. But does that momentum help her try to navigate a quarterfinal if she reaches it? And I say if she reaches it because I really want to look at her draw now that we're almost finished with the first round. And she gets Sophia Kenin. If Pegula wins this match against Shelby Rogers, she gets Sophia Kenin, who beat Raducanu. And that's tricky based off of name accomplishments by itself. Yeah. And then the winner of that, if the seeds hold, would get Katie Bolter. And then so on and so forth. The seed that Pegula is supposed to meet in the quarters would be Iga Swiatek. If everything holds as it is and Pegula and Swiatek win their matches, it would be a Pegula and Swiatek quarterfinal. And it's hard for me to fathom that Pegula breaks the quarterfinal curse against Iga at a quarterfinal, but Iga has not won, I go back to this stat I recently found out. She's only been past the 4th round of a hardcourt major since becoming a Grand Slam champion twice. So if she were to kind of break that quarterfinal curse and it were against Iga, it wouldn't be like the most unfavorable odds as if it was happening on center court and Roland Garros. But I still think it's unlikely that if it's Iga across the net from her at a quarterfinal, Jessica Pegula might be what? I think the number like what? 0-9. So she loses the next one, it'll be 0-10. Is it that high yet?
For quarterfinals? Is it
Has she
Rublev?
reached-
Is it Rublev's stats already?
I think it's closer to 10 than I really believe it is. Yeah. So she's reached 3 Australian Open quarterfinals, a French, a Wimbledon, and a US Open. So 6.
Yeah, so it'll be her 7th then. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man,
Which is close to 10. Sure.
Yeah. It's closer to 10 than it is. So yeah. All things considered, like if there is a place right now where you could see Pegula getting the win over Swiatek, it would be right now. Swiatek hasn't been super convincing. I tend to believe more in those top players, like even when they're not playing their best, like if they can keep winning, as long as they can keep winning, they can try to find their level later. But it might come even against Swiatek, or she might not even need to face Swiatek in that quarterfinal.
Yeah.
She might even get a break on this, and somebody else might come along.
I mean, when I made my fantasy bracket, I had Mira Andreeva taking out Iga in a rematch of that Cincinnati quarter. I believe they played a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
I think that would be fun.
It's a good pick. Andreeva's playing really well as well. Samsonova, Schneider, Bolter. It seems like a pretty feasible draw for Pegula to reach the semis.
It does, yeah, it does, yeah.
And then on the other side, who do we got? Like the top seeds are Rybakina and Paolini. I fancy her chances against Paolini. Rybakina, if she's playing as she's playing right now, if she's not at 100%, it could happen as well. Maybe a final could be in the cards, but that's definitely way too far.
I don't know. Part of me, because the WTA tour has been so how do I put this with being respectful for the WTA tour, which I am. I love the WTA tour, but the WTA tour has had more variety in who really holds these Grand Slam trophies. Because of that thought process and like how that has worked out over the past several years, I want to believe that Jessica Pegula can win a Grand Slam title because she's basically done everything else in tennis on a singles format except that. But then we look at the fact that she's been to 6 quarterfinals and is honestly not showing up in most of them. Granted, she came up against Iga in 1 or 2, especially the ones at the French Open. She really wasn't the favorite, but there were at least 2, maybe 3 that she was the favorite at, and she didn't win. Von Drusova at Wimbledon last year, quarterfinals of Australia 2023 against Azarenka. Those 2 stand out as like you were definitely the favorite. You definitely were the higher seeded player. It was yours to win, and she didn't. So I'm just wondering. Maybe I shouldn't use the word fascinated, but I am intrigued to see what happens if Pegula gets back to that stage, regardless of who it is and how she shows up. Because if 0-6 wasn't baggage to hold, 0-7 definitely will be. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely. Oh man, she was she lost 6-4, 6-1 to Victoria Azarenka in the quarterfinals of the 2023 Australian Open. Yeah, that one stands out. I like Azarenka, but it definitely feels like a match that she should have at least made it a little bit closer.
Absolutely. I think her first ever Grand Slam quarterfinal, 2021 Australian Open, which was played in, kind of weird circumstances with the pandemic. I want to say that she lost that to, I was correct, Jennifer Brady, which at the time did not feel like a big thing, but in hindsight, definitely feels more like a missed opportunity because Jennifer Brady hasn't really not been on tour much since that Australian Open. So that definitely feels like a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, poor Brady. If you're talking about her, it's just
yeah,
kind of miss her. Like when she was playing at that time, it definitely feels like it just probably wasn't the time for Jess. It's just like they just missed their peaks, I'd say. But yeah, it's just if you were Jess of today against Brady, I think she had a better chance of making that.
Yeah. And then the following year, she gets to the quarters and loses to eventual champion Ash Barty. Not really. I mean, she did get crushed. She lost 6-2, 6-love, which is not really respectable. But Ash Barty went on to win it. So, like, okay, I wouldn't put that as an opportunity where she was the favorite. French Open quarterfinal 2022, she lost to Iga. And also U.S. Open quarterfinal 2022, she lost to Iga. So, again, you know, tough to say that those were in her hands because Iga was clearly the player of 2022. But quarterfinal 2023 against Azarenka and also quarterfinal 2023 at Wimbledon against Vondrousova. Missed opportunities for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, against Ash Barty at the time of Barty, tough. Tough ask.
Yeah, but, for sure. Yeah.
Where are we at now? Rogers is serving down 4-5, down love 30. My screen, she just lost that point with a dry volley that she sent out.
Yeah, my screen is showing Pegula has 3 set points now.
Okay.
Rogers put a backhand in the net, giving Pegula 3 break points and 3 set points.
She saves 1, I see.
Oh, that score like skipped 2 scores because it was love 30, then it went to 15-40.
Yeah.
Ghosty's in the chat mentioning Karen Hatchanov's thigh rub in set 5, which I did not see. And I also think I think he had like some kind of medical timeout Hatchanov did in his match today against Dan Evans. But I also didn't watch that match. Part of the reason I didn't watch it is because Dan Evans I think he held a 4-love head-to-head over Karen Hatchanov. So it was kind of likely that he was going to win that match. Maybe not in 5 hours and 30 minutes, but I thought he was going to win it.
Yeah. It was the timeout would explain what happened because Hatchanov was like 4-love up in the 5th set and then lost 6 games in a row.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of 6 games, Pegula is able to get to 6 games quicker than Shelby Rogers. She takes the first set 6-4, and she's in the driver's seat to get to the second round and put Shelby Rogers into retirement. Oh, boy. I don't know if your camera on your stream just panned to like Arthur Ashe Stadium, but wow, there's some empty seats.
I saw them from before, especially in the lower levels. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, that's not a great look.
And Arthur Ashe is go on.
It's so funny because the U.S. Open, like the graphics that they do in between sets, the set 1 summary, it panned over that very quickly, but I caught it and it definitely doesn't look. Yeah, okay, it just showed it again. It is not packed in there.
No,
that's kind of sad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because Arthur Ashe is so massive. I haven't been there, but like just from like seeing it on TV, it looks so gigantic. There's so much space around the main court lines. That just the seats when they're empty is just looks
a lot.
You can see it very quickly. There's not a lot of people in.
I vividly remember my 2022 Arthur Ashe experiences because I saw Coco versus Madison Keys, and that was a day session match. That was really cool. I didn't have amazing tickets, but I was like, wow, this is a huge stadium. And then I saw Serena versus Tomljanovic in 2022, and that one was obviously packed. In 2021, I know I saw Osaka, and I think it was Osaka's first round. She played Marie Buskova and she won. I don't remember who else was on that ticket though for night session. I know it was a primetime session. I don't remember who else was on that ticket, but it must not have been interesting because I must have found a match to go to on like around the grounds. So yeah. Those couple times in Arthur Ashe definitely can make you go like, whoa, they give all this space to a tennis court. But I like it. It's when it's packed in there and like there's an energy. I as far as like other tennis tournaments I've been to, like Indian Wells, the Dallas tournament, Delray Beach. Where else have I been? I think that's it. Arthur Ashe is definitely the most energetic for sure.
Yeah. How's the Indian Wells? Like the court is massive as well in there.
Yeah. That stadium is big, but I wouldn't go as far as saying you can put the Indian Wells Stadium inside Arthur Ashe, but it has an Arthur Ashe-ish feeling from the very top. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Venus and a Rafa match on the main stadium at Indian Wells, and was like, wow.
Of course, the crowd is very different, right, from New York.
When you say different, what do you think it might look like?
I would just say the
Or feel like?
demographics of Palm Springs is very different.
Yes, they are two different coasts, but there's still an energy, and it's still a lively energy. But I guess I would say they're a little bit different. Like in New York, it's more where's the quickest bar kind of energy, and then Indian Wells, which is in Palm Springs, it's like let's find the nicest backdrop for a picture energy. Both of those are both of them are nice, but I feel like people in the Indian Wells Stadium are so much more enamored. They're enamored with the tennis, but if they're not enamored with the tennis at that moment, then they're kind of taking in the views of it all and the fact that it's just such a stunning place to be in. Whereas in New York, if they're not actually captivated by the tennis, they're captivated by like what star is in the audience or which drink is in their hand.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That makes sense. Do you live near New York?
No, I'm in New Orleans, so I'm in a new, but not the New York.
A different new.
A different new, yeah. It's funny, I'm the closest, like the biggest tournament I'm closest to by like a map is Miami, and I haven't been to Miami. The new one, or the one that was
Key Biscayne.
Key Biscayne. I'd never been to that one. I want to put it on my agenda though, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll apply for a media credential next year and see if they give it to me.
Nice. Maybe if you do it early, you get a chance.
Yeah. I mean, they seem pretty free and willing to do things for people. I mean, they gave Simona Halep a wild card. That was pretty generous. What else have they done? They've done some things.
Where are we? So what do you think of this match so far? I think it's going pretty standard. Nothing's really going off script.
Yeah.
Good hitting by Shelby, but solid tennis from Pegula.
Wouldn't be surprised if this second set is like 6-4, 6-3, maybe even 6-2 if Roger starts leaking some errors. But yeah. To plan. Ghostie's comments about New Orleans often make me laugh. Sean in the comments said that Raducanu has played 3 sets this month.
Wow.
I mean, she has, because I believe by the time she was exiting out of Washington D.C., it was like July, like the later days of July, I think.
Is there a reason she didn't play at Cincinnati or Montreal or Toronto?
Qualifying.
Her ranking? Oh,
it was she would have had to play qualifying for both, and I don't think either gave her a wild card. And I don't think I think she made time to go back to the UK in between DC and the US Open. And I think one of the reasons she didn't play qualifying is that she wanted time to go back to DC. And the other time is she didn't want to like pick up a potential injury before the US Open and jeopardize that. But, you know, that decision in hindsight probably warranted the match result she got today, especially that first set against Sophia Kenin. She lost it 6-1. And I don't remember the last time Sophia Kenin beat anybody 6-1 in a set. So, you know. It's crazy how like lack of match play just between a month can really affect how you go out there and play.
Yeah, I think for Raducanu, I can respect that maybe she's trying to figure out how much her body can handle because of so many injuries from before.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she might be at a time that maybe she wants to amp up a bit and just play a couple more matches.
She should definitely explore her options in this post US Open, like this post Europe. It's like European / Asian, but mostly Asian because of the WTA Tour now fully going back to China. She should explore what her options look like to either get wild cards or to just flat out play some of those 250s and 500s. She definitely should. I'm not saying she should go like pack up her bags and like find an Airbnb in Asia and just be there for 2 months. But if she wants to find out how far she can take her body as a professional tennis athlete, you just have to play. There's no other way around it. So more power to her. Because I mean, she showed glimpses of how good her game is in her loss against Sophia Kenin tonight, but ultimately she still lost, and that's not giving you momentum.
No, or confidence. Like she needs to start winning a couple to start feeling like she has that. I mean, honestly, mentality.
Yeah, honestly, it would be nice for her to. I don't think she's been in a final of any level since she won the US Open. It'll be nice for her to just like prioritize getting to the final of an event, even if the event is like a 125K. Like she should prioritize that, I think.
Yeah, I feel like Raducanu winning a 125K would at least like give her something because she hasn't. I don't think she's won a single title in any level since the US Open.
Nope.
Nope.
Swarna's saying she isn't playing a 125, but
I can see that.
Like that's kind of the point. Like the fact that Swarna and I'm sure other people feel confidently that she's not going to a 125 is kind of the problem. I forgot who was it that you know what? I'll go with this because it gets popped into my head. The likes of Vera Zvonareva, who made 2 Grand Slam finals in a season, got to world number 2. When she came back to play tennis, I mean, hers was more of a maternity leave type of thing, but she didn't stray away from like having to go down to 125s, even some ITF tournaments to rebuild your ranking and rebuild your confidence on the court.
Yeah.
And although Vera Zvonareva didn't actually win a major, she was as close as you can possibly get to doing one that you can get. So if she has that kind of resume, world number 2 player, 2-time Grand Slam finalist, if she can kind of bite the bullet to go play some challengers, it's hard for me to give a pass on Raducanu for not even entertaining the option. I'm not saying make a career out of it, but like 1, see how it feels. 2, see how it feels, you know?
Yeah. I think just getting a trophy in her hands should be enough to just say like, okay, I'm done here. I'll go back to trying to like take on the big guns now.
You know what's the biggest example of that? The most famous example is Andre Agassi, and he did it. He played challengers when they were super not luxury. Like,
oh yeah,
and he was a multiple-time Grand Slam champion at that point. He went back down to play challengers to get his game together. So if he can do that, I don't see why Emma is above it. So.
On the screen right now, tweet from Jake Davis. Recall people talking about Emma's physical issues being a huge determining factor as to why everything had halted at her level. it's valid. But now you look at her game and it hasn't kicked on or developed. So many errors to improve and not enough standout strengths.
Yeah, she did look. I can't say I wasn't impressed during the grass court season because coincidentally she had a win over Pegula, who's on our screen right now, at Eastbourne, I believe, and I think she got to the semis of Nottingham, maybe. Nottingham, she got to the semis, something like that. She put together a couple of good weeks in a row during the grass court season, which it would make sense that she would do that because she's been very open about the fact that she likes to go back to the UK and train. And what's in the UK? Grass courts. So I don't know. She's kind of still an enigma, and I'm not going to say I won't take her seriously because we still have that factor of like she can just turn it on, and we've seen what turning it on looks like. It looks like a US Open champion, but I'd like to see her add a couple of more tournaments just because like there's no way around how to become a tennis champion or a consistent tennis champion. You have to play the matches, and if she's not playing the matches, then it will always be kind of fleeting with her.
And right now, my stream just broke, but it was a triple break point to Shelby Rogers, and she netted a forehand. I'm
looking at Pegula defending a second serve 30-40 break point at 2-love.
Definitely feels expected that we're going to see a few breaks and breakbacks. But
Rogers nets a backhand return in the middle of the net, basically. It was sitting there for her.
And now it's deuce, I suppose.
Yep. Super Dave said Emma could be suffering from entitlement syndrome. See Kyrgios, Korda, and Runa. Is that what Runa's suffering from?
I don't know what Runa is suffering from. I think Korda is actually pretty down to earth. But Kyrgios, yeah. I'm not sure what's up with Kyrgios. I really don't know.
I don't think Kyrgios knows what's up with Kyrgios.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if she wants to even come back and play. He just mentioned something about Sinner and like, I'm not going to talk to him in the locker room. It's like, it's not even in the locker room ever. Like, when is that going to happen?
I saw his reply to that because somebody said, like, when are you going to be in the locker room with Sinner? You haven't played since Stuttgart 2023, which is literally over a year from now. And he said, what about Australia, you potato? Like, that's basically inferring that he would be banking on an Australian Open wild card, which, to be honest, it does seem likely that the Australian Open Tennis Federation would give him a wild card, but like to bank on it and to also like call your internet trolls potatoes for inferring, or not even inferring, but for stating the obvious that you haven't played tennis in over a year, is just not that Kyrgios probably cares about his image. This is not a good look. This is not a good look at all.
Yeah, I mean, like, who are we to know his plans? Like, he hasn't played until now. Like, what's to guarantee that he wants to go back in Australia to play tennis? I mean,
when you're doing encore interviews and you're sitting in the broadcast booth in a damn hoodie for ESPN, it kind of looks like you've made your choice on whether you're going to come back and play professional tennis or not.
Yeah.
But what do I know?
Kyrgios did play in the UTS challenge. I don't think I consider that. I mean, it isn't as exhibition as exhibitions get. Like,
they don't even have tram lines for doubles, and they only get one serve.
Yeah. Plus, I don't get the score.
Oh my gosh, the stadium keeps getting more empty and more empty.
It's a fruit of being 11:30 p.m.
Oh man. Okay, but if they switch this though, literally the match that Carlos played against Lee Chu, who was a heavy underdog, unfortunately the stands wouldn't look like this. They just wouldn't. Even though that match on paper has the similar outcome of this Pegula and Shelby Rogers match. It's like Pegula is supposed to win this match 9 times out of 10, as is Carlos supposed to beat Lee Chu 9 times out of 10, but you know.
I would just say that in terms of crowds, I think Alcaraz has more weight than Pegula to make the stands be full for a much longer time. And I think a fuller crowd could give Rogers a bit more of like an oomph to play better.
Agreed. And then Agreed. Great point, Andre. But then Tanisha Johnson made me think about something. She said, "You think they're going to the Tommy Paul match?" And Tommy Paul is playing Sonego on Armstrong right now. So yeah, if I was still on the grounds, I'd probably be at that match over this match. Respectfully, Pegula.
Yeah. Oh man, this match, the Paul Sonego match has basically just started.
Oh really?
This is the beginning of the second set. This is gonna end at 2 a.m.
Well, I mean, Bianca Andreescu took about a solid 30 minutes in the totality of the match to get like some rub downs and trainer visits. So
yeah.
What I'm gathering from the comments is that the U.S. Open is 0 for 2 for women's primetime matches. Now, if you had just looked at the score of the last primetime women's match last night with Sloane Stephens and Clara Burrell, you may have thought it was entertaining, but it wasn't. It actually wasn't.
I don't know how the third set went, but wasn't she leading? I think she was leading in every set. She was leading by a break, but
she had a chance. I think she served for the match at 5-4. Sloane did and didn't close it out.
And then she had like a 4-2 in the third set, and then lost 7-5, I believe.
6-love, 4-1. She was up. Oh, Roger gets on the board though. So 3-1 Pegula in this second set.
Yeah. The grind doesn't stop here, says Sloane Stephens. When was the Go on.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. I had a joke.
I was just gonna ask, like, what was Stephens' tournament before the U.S. Open? When was the last time she played?
She didn't qualify for the Olympics. Now let me double check because I really don't remember what she did at Cincinnati or Canada, to be honest, which is not good and indicative of the fact that she lost early. She lost to Greet Menon 6-2, 6-2 in Toronto. And she lost to Amanda Anisimova 6-3,
not a bad
7-5.
loss. Anisimova.
Yeah. That was a bad loss before Anisimova went to the final of Canada.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, her last win came in Wimbledon.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Sloane. Ghosty, she was actually up a set in 4-1. Sloane was last night. I think I made the joke that Clara Burrell might be ranked higher than Sloane Stephens, but this is as of the 26th of August. Sloane Stephens is 62 in the world, and Clara Burrell is 56. So yes, Clara Burrell is higher ranked than Sloane Stephens. So technically, on paper, that match went to form.
Yeah,
what can you do?
I think this Sloane just. I think for her, it's mental, man. I think it's I think she might be thinking about some sort of like mental health issues. I think she gets affected from the tweets that I've seen before. It seems to affect her, the amount of hate that she gets on social media when she loses, and I think betting people kind of come at her a little too much, but they do come at everybody. So I'm not sure if that is something very specific about her case that she needs to treat. But
yeah, but Sloane, I shouldn't say but. Maybe I should say however, because I don't want to invalidate the fact, like what you said, because that is true. Like the betting bros around tennis can be insanely harsh. However, Sloane has had a career of just quite frankly lackadaisical looking match performances, even before betting bros were a thing. So it's hard for me to say, like, yes, she might be affected by that, but I don't think that's the actual problem that's causing her to slump the way she has. I think she just has a really tough time getting up for matches that aren't like obvious matches that you need to perform well at. I'm trying to remember where she played well at and lost, but it was like she got up for that match. I'm trying to remember. Let's see.
The one match that I can remember from the top of my head happened like quite a while ago. I think it was 2021 Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
She played a really good match against Sabalenka. She lost in 3.
Even Sabalenka last year at the French, 2023. Yeah. Didn't they played prime time, and Sloane, Sloane has made a career out of getting to the 4th round of the French Open. But like, I actually think she was down in that match pretty heavily, and then she kind of like turned it all around. Maybe Sabalenka started spewing some errors, but that's an example of like she plays to a moment and to opponent instead of actually playing her level consistently, or that high level consistently. So yeah. And I also think it didn't help that she won the US Open in the context that she won it, because she I think she won it basically 3 weeks after coming back on the tour from a foot injury. Like she didn't have any ranking really. I think I don't know. I don't think she needed a wild card because she was able to use her protected ranking to get into the US Open. But like it came so quickly to her because she was basically off the tour for a year with a foot injury. And then like in your 3rd tournament back, maybe 4th tournament, you win a slam, something that you have been wanting to do your whole career. And you kind of like skip the steps a little bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, literally to indicate that might have been part of the problem. After winning that US Open, she loses like the next 8 matches she plays in a row. so it's like she's just always been an enigma and kind of like head scratching. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess there are just players like that. Not that I want to draw too many comparisons. Like I think a player that kind of shows up a lot when, depending on the player who's on the other side of the net, is Nick Kyrgios himself. So
yep.
Yeah. Pegula 4-1 up. 1 breakup only, but
30-15, I believe. Is it 15 or 30-15?
For me, it's 15.
Excuse me, 15-30 now. Sorry.
15-30, okay.
Swarner says, I really feel bad that Rogers will retire in this empty stadium. Yeah, that's probably not a great way to go out. But I'm sure she had, like, the microcosm probably sucks, but like in the broader spectrum, you don't necessarily forget all those memories that you made to get to the point of retiring. So she's always going to have the fact that she beat the world #1 in a more packed crowd than this on Arthur Ashe, because she did that a couple years ago. So
Americans always showing up to play in the US Open. I mean, in any tournaments in the US. Case in point, I already forget her name, like the one that won the Cleveland title just last
McCartney
week.
Kessler. Yeah. I maybe had seen her name in a couple of small level tournaments as like a wild card or just like a direct entry. I'm talking like challenger level 250, maybe some ITFs. I didn't think that she had WTA 250 level title talent to her, but apparently she did, and she beat a top 20 player. Is Haddad Maia top 20 still?
She beat Haddad Maia, yeah. I don't think Haddad's top 20 player.
She's 21
at this moment.
She was 23 when she beat her, so that's top 25, which is still impressive.
That's a good solid win.
Yeah. And Potapova in the semifinals, and Potapova's been top 25 before too, I believe, so, or about there. Karima is saying that they should let the crowd move down, and that would help kind of fill out the atmosphere. I agree, especially at a certain point, like a set in 4-1. It's kind of hard to imagine that Shelby Rogers is going to miraculously come back, especially considering that like this is her last tournament and she hasn't had wins in a while. Why not let people come down and enjoy that atmosphere, get some pictures, be like, hey guys.
Also looks better on TV.
Yeah. Hey, Anthony. Good to see you in the chat.
Yonex. Who's wearing Yonex?
Rabakana and Hubie Hurricane.
Adidas?
Catherine is not a big fan of the armpits showing in Pegula's kit. She's been saying that a couple times tonight, so that's why she's a fan of she thinks the Yonex kits are the best. Does our producer have a picture of Dominic Herbody's top that he infamously wore at the U.S. Open? Because it kind of reminds me of what Pegula is wearing. I wonder if he can find that. Dominic Herbody. I think it was like the 2005 or 6 U.S. Open. He had like a shirt that was cut similar to how Pegula's is in the front, but in the back.
Huh.
Yeah, Thriller from Manila. He remembers her body had the vents on the back. Yeah.
Oh, is it the yeah, I think I remember.
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys talking about? Yeah.
Ghosty.
Yeah. I don't mind that they tried things, but honestly just kind of looks like a cutout. It looks like he did it himself with a pair of scissors.
Mm.
If you're curious, you just kind of Google Herbody, HRBATY US Open kit in 2005, and it's going to show up on Google. Yeah. To be fair, yeah, go on.
No, go ahead. Go finish. You finish.
I was just going to Pegula's kit actually looks better than that.
I agree. Yeah, it does. It just reminds me of it. Pegula's does look more modern. Anthony has said the verified resellers have killed these events. That's why we're not seeing enough people in the stands. The 300 level has been overpriced to like $200 or $300. Way overpriced. Yeah, it is. Even a regular grounds pass, which would get you entry to like the top level of Armstrong, is between $200 and $300. A grounds pass ticket should not be that much. It just shouldn't.
In the first week?
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know firsthand that they're like that because I went in 2022 and that was Serena's final year. And I don't even know how I managed to get tickets, but it was definitely let me check my bank account really quickly to make sure I don't overdo it kind of thing. So yeah. So if that was 2020, if that was 2022 and inflation in the United States has only gotten worse since then, I can only imagine what those ticket prices look like for people. But at the same time, just yesterday, opening day, the US Open experienced the most people for an opening day they've ever seen. So like from a business perspective, they're doing something right to get people in the stands to pay that amount. But that doesn't mean that there aren't people that literally just can't even factor it into their budget because it's too much, you know?
Yeah.
It's too much.
Big factor is
That's kind of like Disneyland.
Yeah.
Like Disneyland isn't going out of business, but it's an incredibly expensive thing to do. They're not going out of business though. People have to like save up extraordinary amounts to get one weekend at Disney. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think a big part of it is sort of like in the sense like how Indian Wells is in that like very like richer area in California. This is New York. People who can afford to live in New York can probably afford to go to the US Open.
Fair.
And even if there's people who cannot afford to go to the US Open, New York is also the second most populous city in the world.
Yeah, it's a destination event. Yeah. Similar to like what I was saying with Disneyland. It's a we put this on the calendar and we save towards it kind of event, you know?
Yeah. Flushing, Queens is a working class area. It doesn't mean that people who go there are from Queens.
I mean, the rich can still get to Queens very easily if they live in Manhattan. It's only a subway or a Uber or a taxi. Pegula has a break point here, by the way, against her. So Shelby has that break point. at 2-4. She gives it up with a wide forehand though. So back to deuce. Any comment, Andre, on Osaka's U.S. Open debut outfit that she had today? It's on the screen right now.
I'm not a fan of the huge ribbon that she was wearing, especially on practice time. I didn't even notice that something was there until like I looked. It's just like, what the heck? But I don't know. At this point, like whatever makes her happy.
Yeah, it's not like salacious or anything like that. It's just more of like a conversation piece. The biggest conversation piece was actually what she wore to walk onto the court. That was like larger than life, kind of like a runway piece that isn't functional for everyday life. That was a very large jacket and tutu that she wore to like do the coin toss, and then she took that off to do the match warm up. But when she walked on the court, I was like, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on here. But even when she took that off, it still was quite jarring to the eye. But I mean, the color looked great on her. Look, the green looks great against her skin tone. So there's that.
Well, you know what? Maybe she's getting ready for the Met Gala.
Oh, that always is after the U.S. Open, isn't it? That is true.
Yeah.
Wait,
and I
I feel like the Met Gala happened already this year. Am I making that up, or am I just converging 2023?
I don't know. Every time that I see it, it's like, wait, hasn't this already happened before?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the theme. Wasn't the theme like denim or something like that the last time it happened?
Yeah.
Should we take a quick look at the order of play for tomorrow, Andre?
Sorry?
Should we take a quick look at the order of play tomorrow as Pegula's up a set in 5-2?
Sure.
Let's see. So opening up Arthur Ashe Stadium tomorrow is going to be former finalist Madison Keys, who takes on qualifier Maya Joint, who is, I think this is Maya Joint's first time in the second round of a Grand Slam, because she's also a collegiate player. I've been seeing some conversations about whether or not she's actually going to be able to access her prize money because she still plays collegiately. And then second on during the day, Arthur Ashe is 20th seed Francis Tiafoe versus Alexander Shevchenko of Kazakhstan. So, of course, some American action happening there. And then the night session opens up with defending champion and 3-seed Coco Gauff taking on Tatiana Maria. And it closes out with defending champion and 2-seed on the men's side, Novak Djokovic, taking on Laszlo Jerry, his countryman from Serbia. So that's the Arthur Ashe order of play tomorrow.
Yeah, a lot of good American action tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Shelby Rogers is serving to stay in this match at 2-5, by the way.
Yeah, let's see how that one to survive for at least one more game.
Super Dave said that Osaka's kit was the color of pea soup. Hey, Peaches. Welcome to the stream.
It might be ending soon, but welcome. I say that, and then next thing you know, we're here for another 2 hours.
Let me knock on some wood. I have a tuna sandwich waiting on me. If Pegula keeps hitting inside-in forehands like that, it's going to be a quick wrap-up, because that was a pretty good inside-in forehand she hit to get to 15 all. Super Dave. Did you see that one?
No, I'm about to see it in a bit.
Okay. Super Dave, yeah, that Djokovic match against Jerry tomorrow is very predictable. But I mean, then again, which Djokovic matches aren't predictable at this point? That's kind of that's kind of what you get when you're the best.
Yeah, he has had a somewhat unpredictable year so far, but
fair.
I stopped to look at what his year looked like, and he's 129. His record for the year is 29-7. He has actually had very good results. It's just I'm so used to him seeing like having so many titles at this point. I'm like, man, Djokovic's year is crap by now.
I would imagine this is probably the lowest amount of wins he's gone into the U.S. Open with in years, though.
Likely.
Probably not 2020, because 2020 there was such a huge gap between what happened at Australia and then the COVID break. But this is 29 is probably a very low number for him going into the U.S. Open as far as amount of wins on tour.
Yeah, Shelby Rogers, for me, just hit like a very nice set of aggressive forehands, finishing the point with like a nice down the line forehand, and is up 30-15. I don't know what's your score right now. It should be at least a point ahead.
Yeah, she won the next point. It's 40-15.
Oh, nice.
She's trying to close out this game with a nice little dropper that Pegula gets to, but she slides it back down the line. Shelby hits a lob up to Pegula, and she puts it away pretty easily. So 40-30 now for Shelby Rogers. This match is a perfect example. Like if you kind of wanted to show somebody what Pegula does well, which is pretty much everything on the tennis court. Nothing like expansively exciting, but everything else, like everything she does on the tennis court is good. So if you're going up against a player like this level, maybe not this specific level because Shelby Rogers is undercooked on matches, but this level beats pretty much everybody that's 50 and below. So
yeah.
Shelby was able to hold, by the way, and make Jessica Pegula serve it out. So she'll be serving at 5-3 to get into the second set and second round and set up that match with Sofia Kenin. Like she can hit forehand winners from the middle of the court. They're not the most scorching forehand winners. Her backhand is solid. She can kind of hit some angles with it. She retrieves well. Her service, her serve is not just a point starter. She can kind of find some precision on it and make it an aggressive way to start a point. But like I wouldn't give an A+ to anything that she does. And that might also be one of the things that is holding her back in quarterfinals, because even the players that have weaknesses at the later stage of a slam, I think their strengths are such strengths that the weaknesses, if they're playing well, aren't super exposed, Whereas if you're going up against somebody like Pegula who does everything well, you can you get a rhythm to it, especially considering the fact that she gives you a very consistent ground stroke ball. Even if you're not playing well, if you just kind of time it right, and I've said this from watching a bunch of Pegula matches over the past couple of weeks, if you time your surge or your ability to dig into a match correct, you can get into a match with Pegula even if you start off slowly, because she doesn't really vary the height and spins of the ball. So you're kind of essentially playing a ball machine, And the longer you play a ball machine, the quicker you get adjusted to it. So,
yeah, it takes. I can imagine like a player like Paolini who hits bigger from the ground, faster, but doesn't have the serve. Of course, given her height, but it's that one thing that she can maximize that the ground game, that she stays in the rallies, able to start the point, she can offset those weaknesses, whereas Pegula kind of has to. She starts playing less well. There's nothing really that can cover for that. But right now, for me, it's at 40 love for Pegula, serving to close Shelby Rogers' career.
And close she does. Pegula with a wide serve and a put away forehand, and not much pomp and circumstance to close that one out. Pegula moves on to the second round. Oh, Stacey Alistair is out to give Shelby a hug. I'm assuming Stacey Alistair has had on her mind all day, I guess, farewell performances or farewell packages for players. She tried to give one to Danielle Collins, but Danielle Collins wasn't interested.
Danielle Collins just wants to do everything her way, and that's it.
Yeah. She was like, well, I'm still in the doubles. And the way that she lost Danielle Collins, especially to a player that she had never lost to after being comfortably up, that's tough. That's real tough.
Yeah. I was so confident that she was going to go for a deep run in the U.S. Open. I still feel
I
like
would have liked to see that too.
Yeah. I think she made a bit of a mistake going to Mexico before this.
Yeah, that wasn't smart.
Exactly.
That wasn't smart at all. I do wonder though, like if she cares enough to do this, she's not that far away from contention for the WTA finals, is she?
I don't think she is, but she's definitely lost a big opportunity to advance decades right now.
She's actually 7 right now. So technically, I believe, I haven't read this myself, but the WTA Tour apparently has implemented something that the ATP Tour had, where if you are a Grand Slam champion, you do get one of the 8 spots, regardless of what your race. Well, not regardless, but as long as you're in the top 20 in the rankings and you've won a slam that year, you're guaranteed a spot to do the year-end finals. But if the year-end finals were tomorrow, she'd still be in the top 8 because Iga Swiatek's number 1 and she's already qualified. Then there's Sabalenka, Rybakina, Paolini, Coco Gauff, Pegula, then Collins. Add in Krejcikova at number 8, and that's your top 8.
Yeah, and then the race, she's actually a bit better. She's number 6 in the race right now.
Oh wait, this isn't what I just read. Wasn't the race?
I think is that her official ranking?
No, that's her. She's 7 in the live WTA race right now.
Okay, yeah. She's a live race. Oh yeah, I was probably just reading just the regular race.
Oh yeah, the live race. She's 7.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Super Dave said, Pegula wins, armpits ventilated and wings intact.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess that's it then. That was the end of Shelby Rogers' career. Any comments on that one?
No, she's making a nice speech to the crowd that remains on Arthur Ashe. They're panning to some of her loved ones who are kind of getting emotional. And yeah, that's Shelby Rogers' career. Highlights include a quarterfinal here at the U.S. Open, a quarterfinal at the French Open. I believe her career high ranking, let me double check that so I send her off on a good note. Her career high ranking was 30 in the world. She didn't quite get her hands on a WTA level title, but she did win 6 ITF titles. She has wins over Ash Barty, Petra Kvitova, and Serena Williams. So, yeah.
She's also managed to reach a Indian Wells quarterfinal in 2021. So, yeah, she has some good results in the main tour, for sure.
And she was part of the women's Fed Cup team in 2017 that won the title. So,
yeah. Always a nice little prize for players to win the team events. All right, so I guess this settles it.
Yeah. Good on you, Shelby Rogers.
Good on you as well, Pegula reaching the
You
second
know what? This might not be a reach. I just remembered that she was born very close to where the Charleston tournament resides. So in a couple of years, that might be an active tournament director or something of the sort at the Charleston tournament on the WTA Tour. So yeah, I'm sure we haven't seen the last of Shelby Rogers.
Yeah, it's quite possible. It's kind of a big trend for now, like to have players being tournament directors. Not super sure how much work they do in terms of putting together the tournament, but at least they're there and they're doing their part to promote the tennis, right? So that's valid.
Fair enough.
Super Dave says, worried she might go the way of the pickleball.
You know, there's another American player who's playing his last tournament. Donald Young announced that he would be playing mixed doubles with Taylor Townsend, and that would be his last tournament before he goes full time with pickleball.
Oh, so he was already playing pickleball.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I haven't heard of him like for a long time, so it kind of makes sense that he wants to transition for something else. Probably got like a huge weight on his shoulders, like the next Andre Agassi or whatever. That
I mean, I've listened to an interview he did, and he said it's very financially lucrative for him at the moment, which a lot of tennis players have been saying. So,
I mean, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's less demanding the tennis as well, so I guess he probably gives you like a better quality of life.
Yeah. You don't have to like worry about your knee falling out of socket after sliding for a forehand. You know, there's that.
Or a hip resurfacing surgery.
Yeah. Do we call it? Do we call it a night here?
I think so. Yeah, I was covering for this match, and if you want to go with some other and like seeing like how Tommy Paul is doing, that's your call.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I think I'll be.
I forgot about that. Let me check the score.
I'll say good night here for the fellow fans.
Hey, John.
Hey, how are you? Oh, listen. You know what this is? This is
the last call?
This is called Europe, Miles. This is Europe.
This is French.
I'm in Luxembourg, of all places.
That used to be home of a WTA tournament that the likes of Ana Ivanovic and Clara Towson won.
There we go. Knowledge. How you doing, Andre? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Just leaving in a bit. So yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Stuff.
I mean, yeah, go whenever, if not now or whatever. I'm just coming to say hi and maybe have a chat to Miles for a few minutes.
All right.
And just say hello, everyone. But thank you, Andre. Really
see you, Andre. Good talking to you.
Guys.
Yeah,
see you guys
later.
Soon.
Take care.
Keep talking tennis. Bye.
Yeah.
Later.
So, Miles, I have not seen a huge amount of tennis today. I saw, I think, about 6 points from the Dan Evans Hatchanoff match, but they were the last 6 points. I saw the first set and a half of Danielle Collins's match, and the match was not about the first set and a half, unfortunately for Danielle, because if it was, then she'd be safely through to the next round because she was up a break in that second set. What else have I seen? A few points here and there, but not a huge. I know most of the results, but yeah, I don't know if there's anything that stood out for you on day 2 that either I've mentioned or elsewhere.
I think Osaka's cleanliness in her match against Ostapenko definitely was a star of the show or like action today, because I believe she had single-digit unforced errors, and she also closed out Ostapenko in less than an hour. So all in all, that was probably the cleanest match she's played, and her best victory in over 4 years, her first top 10 victory in over 4 years. So that was a big headline from today's action. And then on the complete,
I like that. That's a good shout.
On the opposite end, Iga Swiatek won, but it was kind of scratchy, maybe more than kind of scratchy. Her opponent, Rakimova, had 4 consecutive set points in the second set tiebreak, and Iga barely managed to squeak it out. But she still wins and goes to the next round. But she definitely kind of shook hands and walked to the outside of the court, looking a little bit worried about her level. So there was that.
Yeah, Rebecca had a similar sort of situation as well, where she was sort of struggling to get through the second set. I saw a good tweet from Nick basically comparing those two passages. Coming back to Osaka, I could see people were just starting to panic in the last few weeks regarding Naomi. I understand why, because I think there was some optimism at various points in Indian Wells and Miami, and then through even 1 or 2 parts of the grass court season. And then of course, there was the match with Iga, which I think gave most the French Open gave most people sense of optimism. And then it felt like she just didn't kick on. In fact, if anything, regressed in recent weeks. I was still hoping, and maybe more than hope, there was some reason for hope. I thought even in a qualifying loss that she had in
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, okay, yeah, really tight 3-set loss that she had there. I still thought there was grounds for optimism, and I thought a nice draw, and she did not have a nice draw, but I thought a nice draw, and she still gets to the second week for me, but she's not had it, and yet I do think that after the first couple of rounds, there's sort of rounds 3 and 4 are not too bad for her, because I think I've got her in the quarters playing Badosa. I already had Osaka get into for me, it was largely about this first round and if she could get past Ostapenko. Fortunately for Naomi, Ostapenko is really scratching for form now as well.
She doesn't have to go through a seed now for a path to at least the 4th round. I mean, her next opponent is Mukova, who just made the semifinals at the U.S. Open last year. But the winner of Osaka and Mukova gets the winner of Lepchenko and Potapova, and that's for a spot in the 4th round. So, I mean, I think Mukova and Osaka would be licking their chops at either of those players, and then her fourth round opponent would be at the highest, Jasmine Paolini, or the lowest seed, Putintseva.
Right. So that's not. She's going to run into a seed in the 4th round anyway, and that's not bad. That's not bad.
It could be worse. It could be way worse. It could be way worse.
So it was a difficult first round for Naomi, but like we often see in these draws, you pick someone to go deep, and in fact, I have Naomi in the semi-finals in my bracket.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, but it is kind of, there's 2 parts to it. One was how does she do today? And this is, I mean, I made this obviously prediction a couple of days ago, but it was all about how does she do today? And then she gets to the semis, not because I think she's one of the 4 favorites going into the US Open, but I liked the draw from there onwards, and a couple of wins, and I think, she's off. Now, that's not to say she's a definite to beat Mukova, but, and she could be out in a couple of days, but yeah, I just think it's there for her. And I think if she's going to perform well anywhere in the whole calendar year, if she's going to make the quarters or semis somewhere, it's probably going to be here.
But that fun fact about her Grand Slam career, if she gets to the 4th round and wins that match, she wins the tournament. I think that is absolutely fascinating. So, I mean, if she does get to the 4th round and wins it, watch out, everybody, because she doesn't have the experience of losing after that point.
All or nothing, it's for her, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a great one to highlight. Swiatek, I didn't see a single point from that match. But that is a little surprising that she had those struggles, because even the first set was anything but easy for her over the lucky loser. Rybakina, I was probably a bit more worried about, just because of, barely playing in recent months. And when she does take to the court, she doesn't always finish the match. So still there'll be some concerns. Do you think Iga might struggle a bit here in New York? I mean, it's probably a slightly better slam for her than Australia.
Yeah, because she's actually lifted a trophy here. But then I'm looking at her draw, and her next opponent is Ina Shibahara, and that would be probably an upset of the century if Shibahara is able to pull that off. Even if Swiatek is not up to snuff by her standards that day, that would be upset of the century. And then the highest seed, or the seed in the 3rd round that she's set to face, is Pavlyuchenkova, and I believe she's double bageled Pavlyuchenkova on clay, which is obviously where she's most comfortable. But I would actually like Iga's. I think I like Iga's ability, even with a scratchy match today. I like her ability to go further than Rybakina. Rybakina also has a on paper easy matchup in the 2nd round against Jessica Panchet of France, or Panchet maybe of France, and then the winner of that gets the winner of Wozniacki and conqueror of Caroline Garcia today, Renata Zarazura, who is of lucky loser facing Raducanu at Wimbledon this year fame. So on paper,
I think my internet is breaking up.
Oh, is it
Go
your
on, I'm
internet
still
or is
here.
okay? On paper, Rybakina and Iga have pretty smooth routes to get to the fourth round. It's a matter of them showing their best tennis, really. Iga has just seemed a little bit. I'm trying to think of another word besides fragile, because I wouldn't necessarily use that word. Frazzled. I think Iga has been frazzled since her Wimbledon loss. She hasn't won a title since then. And then Rybakina seems to have been frazzled since the Wimbledon loss too. She was up a set against Krejcikova, and it kind of all fell apart for her, and she hasn't been really healthy and on court since then. So
that is a good word for Iga, actually, because I think from time to time, at various points in what has been a sensational sort of 2 or 3 years for her, there have been moments where she's a little frazzled, and you know the questions arise, and then she goes on a streak, and that's pretty much it. And that's been good. And the streaks are so sensational; it's meant she's been pretty much number one non-stop for about 3 years.
Her hard court losses this year are. Did she have a loss in United Cup before Australian Open in singles? I don't think she had one in singles. I think
last year she lost to Pegula.
Yes, this year it was Noskova in Australia. I believe she lost to Kalinskaya in Dubai, Alexandrova in Miami, and then she didn't play hard courts up until Cincinnati again, and that was a loss to Sabalenka, a very heavy loss. But those early losses to Noskova, Kalinskaya, and Alexandrova, they give me some pause for concern, I think.
Listen, imagine you're an Iga fan right now, okay? Do you want the good news or the bad news?
I'm sure there's somebody watching this like, oh, he would never be an Iga fan. But yes, give me the bad news. The bad news first.
Bad news first. When Iga goes out of these tournaments in rounds 3 or 4, or doesn't get to the final, for example, we tend to see the signs from the get-go. Think about the Sofia Kenin match in the first round in Australia this year. Think about the Pegula match at the United Cup last year in Sydney, albeit rather than in Melbourne. But, we could see something happening. And then coming back to, I know I'm flicking around the 2 years of 23, 24 in Australia. But again, coming back to Australia this year, we saw the Kenin first round, the Collins second round, and it was building and it was building. And then the Noskova match happened. And when the Noskova match happened, so unlike, Carlos dropped a set today. Carlos had the 5-set win over Tiafoe in Wimbledon. We see Djokovic drop sets from time to time and so on and so forth. But we go, you know what? It happens. You get through, and that's the most important thing, especially in the first week. With Iga, partly because of that fragility or that, it's actually a sign. It's a sign that maybe something is brewing. So that's the bad news. Do you want the good news?
Yeah, I'll take the good news, and I'll circle back to why I think that is, but I'll take the good news.
Sure. The good news is she won today.
The good news is that she lives to fight another day. But I do agree, like those matches and names that you mentioned, like Carlos Alcaraz going 5 against Tiafoe, even Novak Djokovic, I think last year he went 5 against Laszlo Jerry. It feels after that match happens, they've got something out of their system. Like they've been tested, they've got through it, and it kind of frees them up. Where in Iga's case, even last year at Wimbledon, when she got tested by Bencic, I think she even saved match points. The next match she played, she lost against Svitolina. So even like you said, in Australia, the match against Sofia Kenin and Danielle Collins, close calls, and then Noskova happens. And even just going back to this year, Cincinnati, she lost a set in the quarters to Mira Andreeva, and that was kind of a sign of something being frazzled. Yeah, it was building, and then the next match she plays, she kind of puts in. I mean, Sabalenka played well in that match, very well. but she didn't really have a fighting chance in that match. So for some reason, I feel like when she is very strongly tested, instead of it kind of allowing something to get out of her system, it puts something in her system. It allows that second guessing to be in her system. And I guess that would make sense if you're the same woman who 24 months ago won 37 matches in a row. Like, you're not, maybe she's still not that comfortable losing or being tested, you know? So when
Yeah.
she gets tested, it does feel like the ground shakes for her, and the very next match is like a slippery banana peel, and she's shown that she can slip on it and fall.
Question about Rebecca. Moving on from Iga to Rebecca. Is she playing better after splitting with her coach, or is it too soon? Well, two things. First of all, I didn't see the match, and secondly, even if she played the best tennis of her life today, I think it's way too soon to make those kind of conclusions.
And against the level she played, Destiny
Right.
Iva really,
Yeah.
doesn't really have the pedigree.
Just looking at a couple of other results on my screen. Let's just flick back up. Yeah, so Daniel Collins, this is probably the only match I'm qualified really to talk about today. I know I said I saw the first set and a half, but so I didn't see the conclusion to this match, but I can tell you a lot about the first set and a half. And even though I didn't see the third set, I have a feeling I can see how that was going, because Daniel Collins won that first set 6-1, but let me tell you now, it was not a 6-1 set. She was being pushed and pulled and struggling a lot on her serve, Danielle. And at 6-1 looks like she breezed through that first set, but she had, I think, almost every service game she was going to deuce and struggling through it. Then in the second set, I think she goes an early breakdown before getting back on track. And there was a service game she had in that second set, which lasted almost 18 minutes on her own serve. And she won that service game. And you thought, okay, she's up a set, they're on serve, but it felt like this is going to be difficult now for Danielle to lose this match, or difficult for Dollarhide to win it. And the next game, as so often happens, when you come through a massive service game and you hold serve, she broke Dollarhide for 3-2. And I thought, that's it. However, Dollarhide was not going anywhere, and hats off to her. I saw her get it back on serve, and I think I left that match at about 4-all, something like that. And I thought, this is turning into a dogfight now. And Danielle, in the middle part of that second set, did start to spray shots. You know, those ones that just clip the line or just land in were now going out. And she was also getting frustrated, and that doesn't always mean anything with Danielle. She gets out of her system, she moves on, but there was a sort of a semi-racket smash from her, and I was a bit concerned from her because she was also not missing from neutral that. You know, sometimes she misses a neutral shot. That's Danielle. She's going for it. It happens. She was missing short balls. The short balls were going into the net. The short balls were going wide, and I was like, oh no. And in the end, of course, I dipped back in an hour later, and she's lost the match.
Yeah, I was surprised that it kind of unraveled for her, but also, again, benefit of hindsight, the last couple of matches she's played have unraveled for her. Going back to the Olympics with Iga, that one unraveled for her, and she ended up having to retire. The match she played last week, which probably was really less than smart planning to go to Monterey, regardless of what that appearance fee looked like.
That.
Yeah, she won the first set against Erica Andreeva and then lost the next two. So kind of unraveling there.
In Paris, or in the French Open, she decided to play Strasbourg the week before.
And got to the final, didn't she?
Of Strasbourg, yeah, but
she lost to Madison Keys, yeah.
And Madison was just on another level that day for a variety of reasons. But yeah, yeah. I mean, I think also with her strategy or planning this year, it's been a lot about trying to spend time at home when she can, which there's obviously this North American swing, but I guess she just decided to rest at various points. And you might say, well, rest in that week before the US Open, but she actually said something to me in Strasbourg, or said something in the press conference anyway about, you know what, why not play Strasbourg? Because I think she was asked about playing Strasbourg and instead of being in Paris warming up. But it is what it is. Fingers crossed we still get to see one or two more highlights for her career before it does finally come to a close. later this year. Sinner and Alcaraz dropping a set.
More surprised by Alcaraz than Sinner, especially the fact that Sinner dropped the opening set. It was kind of there's a lot going on in my mind, and maybe the strategy of competing against Mackenzie McDonald is a little bit fuzzier than it normally would be if I didn't have those things going on off the court. But Alcaraz dropping a set in the middle of the match after winning the first one pretty handedly is a little bit more worrying to me. But it also is in keeping with the Carlos Alcaraz we've watched so far in his career. He does the spectacular, and amidst the spectacular, he can kind of look a little careless, and that's kind of what his opponent took advantage of. But I'm not intensely worried about either of them dropping a set. But
I scoreboard watched the Sinner match, so I kind of know how it went. I was actually listening to the commentary that Matt was doing for Talking Tennis as well. Hi to everybody on both Tuned Into Tennis and Talking Tennis right now. Make sure you do hit the like button and subscribe to the respective channels. So I was sort of scoreboard watching, but there was a crucial moment in the Sinner McDonald match where Sinner loses the first set 6-2, and actually McDonald gets an early break at 1-love, and then has a pretty lengthy service game at that 1-love to consolidate. I think he threw in a few double faults. Now, this is not me here saying McDonald goes on to win that match, but who knows? It could well have been 5 sets if McDonald, consolidates that break with a set and 2-love. We could be looking at a very different, length of match, at least for Yannick. And we know how Yannick, sometimes is with 5 sets. So that's one thing regarding that match. The Alcaraz match, bit weird to drop that set. Hats off to Lee too, and it's great that he had a moment in terms of the way his career has been. Alcaraz, I see the thigh strapping is back, but we'll have to keep an eye on that, I think, in later rounds when he probably gets tested a bit more. Shelby Rogers' career is, I'm pretty sure it's at an end. That was her last match. I think there was a presentation for her as well. So that's nice.
It was Dominic Thiem-esque.
Yeah.
Dominic Thiem-esque with the flag of pictures and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think they've all been getting it because what's his name got it too? Schwartzman, yes, exactly.
And Gasquet in qualifying.
Okay, yeah. So that's kind of. I think he hasn't officially announced it, unless the U.S. Open are ushering him out the door.
No, I think he announced it's his last U.S. Open. I do believe he'll turn the corner of 2025, similar to Schwartzman, and say goodbye at their home countries. But it's their last U.S. Open.
Yeah, he might do the French. Might call it a night or call it a day at the French Open. That would.
Is he going to get the same kind of ceremony that Tsonga got back in 2022? I still remember that. That was probably one of my favorites. Yeah, that was a really good ceremony.
Yeah, really nice. Tell you what, João Sousa, by the way, got a really nice ceremony in Tiny Estoril this year. Really good. The montage on the video. So it was on big screen, and there was Rafa Nadal, Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, some Portuguese players as well, and other players as well, all coming on there and giving their bits. It was Tsonga on a smaller scale in terms of the environment and the people tuning in, but it was equally as good in its own way. So nice to get a little mention there for João Sousa. But yeah, so Shelby Rogers there. Pegula goes on through. Any cause for concern for Jessica, or because she was a breakdown, and I don't know, maybe found it a bit more difficult than I thought she would.
No, nothing in that match alarmed me one way or the other. It was kind of a standard run-of-the-mill Jessica Pegula playing somebody that's really a couple notches beneath her kind of match. But I wouldn't be concerned if she finds herself in a tighter situation against Sofia Kenin, especially if Sofia Kenin plays off the ground and on serve the way she played against Raducanu today.
Wait, so Kenin's her next match?
Yep, Kenin is her next match. Yep.
Ooh, okay. All right. We've actually still got a match in play right now as we speak. Tommy Paul is up 2 sets and a break.
Surprised that is. I don't think I've ever taken a chance to look at their head to head, but I did think Sonego would be able to put up a little bit more of a fight because he's just coming off of that title in Winston-Salem. But if history is indicative of anything, well, yeah, Sonego has beaten Tommy Paul in Cincinnati in 2021, so he has a hard court win. But something about that Winston-Salem trophy doesn't really yield the best results at the US.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Nick or somebody was talking about the likelihood of going deep, and the last time somebody did so, I think somebody said Kevin Anderson maybe won it. I don't know if that's the year he got to the final, or it might have been another year when he just went deep in New York. But yeah, the week before, not just in the US, but also, or for the US Open, but also in Australia. You know, it's not
tough.
always, it's not always a great sign.
So far, everyone, Noskova lost today to Putin-Sava, which is a bit of a tough draw, but Noskova lost. Lulu's son, who was the finalist, she lost, so he had a retirement. McCartney Kessler lost yesterday to Kostic, who won Cleveland. But Beatrice Haddad-Maia surprisingly got a win over Avanesian today.
Yeah, that was a match that I thought was a 50-50. I think I actually had Avanesian winning that in my bracket.
I did too.
And I think I know someone else who did as well. I think it's Kira, because Kira told me at the beginning of one of our streams today that I think she had Avanesian in her semi-finals maybe. But I love a bold prediction, so even though Avanesian goes out in the first round, I'm not going to be reminding her. I was hoping that Avanesian would get to the semi-finals because I did an interview with her a year or so ago, and
I love that interview. I love it.
And every time she does well, there's another 500 views comes on that video. So, but sadly, I don't think that'll be happening over the next couple of weeks. Tsitsipas out.
Tsitsipas out, Felix Auger-Aliassime and Holger Rune out.
Yeah, obviously Holger was yesterday, but
Holger was yesterday?
Yeah. Come on, Miles. It's your time zone, more or less.
That wasn't today? Are we sure?
No, it was yesterday. Maybe it's been lingering for 24 hours. There was an interesting tweet from Holger today, actually, on the topic regarding just about, he said getting 39%, I think, was of his first serves in is just not good enough. Apologies to my opponent for he's basically just on Twitter angry at himself, and he wants to put a quick apology to Nakashima out there, who, of course, was sensational.
I thought the Jack Draper match would have been a little bit closer against Triple Z, but something had to have happened because Zhang Jijin retired down 4-love in the third.
I think it might have been a shoulder issue, but so that's a pity. Good news for Jack, though, because I was concerned at that draw for Jack, because I thought this is a 55-45 probably in Jack's favor. And what 55-45 tends to mean is 4 or 5 grueling sets. And whether Jack wins those 4 or 5 set match or not, it's not good for him going forward, because a bit like, Yannick-esque, but certainly Yannick from a year or two ago, and Holger Rune, for example, although good news for Holger is he's losing in an hour and a half these days, so he doesn't have to worry about long, grueling matches. So what was I saying? Yeah, so good news for Jack that he got through anyway unscathed. But Tsitsipas out is it's another low, I guess, even for Stefanos, who's not got a great track record in New York.
Another low, but it doesn't feel like we are getting into much lower territory, because I'm not much. I mean, obviously his ranking could get lower because he's still a top 20 player, but I don't know if even lower ranking would really change how I feel about Tsitsipas, because at this point, it's pretty much, to me, Grand Slam, either another Grand Final, or bust, or Grand Slam champion or bust. If he doesn't get back to that stage, I feel like his career is largely going to be a what if underachievement type of tale, I think, especially with how he was talked about just a couple years ago, and the opportunities that he had in the finals that he was in. So it just doesn't look great for him, or Felix for that matter. I don't think Felix was talked about as a sure Grand Slam champion the way Tsitsipas was talked about, but he was in the conversation at the same time Tsitsipas was, and his his gap between where he is now and future Grand Slam champion seems even wider than Tsitsipas's. So,
yeah. Korda, nice win for him today. In straight sets, looks very comfortable over Mutet. So maybe he can have a nice run here. Andrescu losing to Paolini in 3 sets. So looks like I saw somebody tweeting Joso Morgado saying that maybe one of the matches of the year, but unfortunately I didn't get to see it. But yeah, that would have been
pieces.
I saw some of the people in the chat obviously talking about Shelby Rogers against Pegula, you know, whether it should have been on a show court, prime time, all the rest of it. I think just because of the Shelby retirement, I think if it's not for that, then either Bianca Andreescu, Paolini, or Raducanu Kenin both would have been befitting of a show court and a grandstand finish, if you like.
And both of those matches proved more entertaining. They both
did.
were preset, and they were both, you know, they had a better energy to them. So yeah, would agree. Definitely would agree.
Okay, Medvedev also dropping a set, but he's through as well. Bolton, okay, she emerged the winner despite losing the first set to Sasnovich. Wozniacki dropping just 1 game. Good to see De Minaur fit and firing and coming through in 4 sets. That was a sort of a tricky match against Giron. And yeah, the aforementioned Felix. I didn't see any of that match. Not surprised that he lost, but perhaps the scoreline is a bit brutal.
8 games.
Yeah.
Never going to cut it. At least Tsitsipas won a set.
Bellucci beating Wawrinka doesn't surprise me either in straight sets. Leylah Fernandez, now that's a result that had slipped me by. I heard you mention it on the stream, and I was like, oh, Leylah Fernandez. Oh, I don't want to dwell on Emma Raducanu because you and Andre spoke about it perfectly. And if you want to watch it, for those of you still tuning into us live right now, go back to just, I think it's the 1 hour mark, because I made a little note of when you were talking about it. Go back to the 1 hour mark on this stream, and you'll hear Andre and Miles dissect the Raducanu loss to Kenin. So do that. But yeah, with something to say, just Raducanu. There's some of these 125s and 250s coming up. Get yourself out to Monastir in about 10 days from now. The crowd will love you there, and there's a 250 at stake. And the reason I'm thinking of that 250 is I see Maya Sharif on my screen because she signed up for the Monastir 250, and she's out in 3 sets today, despite winning a set 6-love over Pliskova. Pavlyuchenkova through, but yeah, Leylah Fernandez. Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, there's a clip that I think might be going viral of Leylah Fernandez just completely miscuing on her toss. I definitely quote tweeted it myself and was like, this is really bad. Her game just does not, even in her win against Rybakina last week or 2 weeks ago in Cincinnati, her game looks very dysfunctional. Which is so odd to me because I have such vivid memories of the 2021 US Open run where her game was so reactionary and reacting to pace, using it against her opponent. Nothing looked like it would ever break down in her game, but she has a case of the yips and kind of giving away free points based off of loose ground strokes, and she definitely isn't going to win that many matches if she's doing that. Because she doesn't have a major weapon, really. So, yeah, not a good loss for her, especially as the 23 seed.
A slightly less in-depth look at Leylah's game is it just honed, which is the way I'm going to take it at the moment. Is just the serve. I see her go up breaks left, right, and center. She's going up a break, and I'm thinking, doesn't mean anything. She's going to get broken back. I saw her foot faulting a bit in one tournament earlier this year, and I thought, I wonder if she's just trying to gain every single millimeter that her diminutive frame can possibly do in that, at least in terms of going forward, not going up. But
you know what I think of? There's a lefty who made a career out of working through those very big service issues, and we know her well. Angelique Kerber. There was a time where Angelique Kerber break meant next to nothing because her serve just was not holding up. And maybe she should watch some Kerber matches and see what Kerber. I mean, Kerber never really made her serve the weapon of her game, but she made it less attackable to a certain degree. in certain parts of her game or certain parts of her career where she really was excelling. So maybe Fernandez should have a chat with the now retired Kerber.
Yeah. Well, she was also up setting a break. So Scott is saying on Twitter, which I wasn't aware of, but it this doesn't surprise me. I just don't feel any comfort when she has that. Equally, when she's down on the scoreboard, sometimes her fighting spirit gets her back into matches. But there we go. Both 2021 US Open finalists on the women's side, at least, out today in the first round. All right. Well, Milo Andreeva through. Artafis through, had dropped a set en route. We already spoke about one or two of these other ones. Samsonova through as well. Tabilo is out. That's a pity for him.
Who do you lose to?
Goffin.
Okay, that's not a terrible loss. In straight sets, maybe, but not terrible.
I think you're being kinder than me. I don't think that's.
I think when I made my bracket, I think I picked Goffin to win that match actually because he picked up a couple of wins in Winston-Salem, and I thought, he has momentum.
Okay. Well, someone else who was winning matches last week was Mickelson, who, when you mentioned Sonego earlier, I was thinking about Mickelson because I've got a soft spot for him, and I know he messed up pretty badly with obviously whacking that ball into the crowd, and of course he got away with it. But he's one of these guys who makes an error, but like that, and immediately he knows it. He's not someone who doubles down on it for sometimes hours or weeks or months or even years in some people's cases, let's say, without naming any names. But and so at least I like that from him, and I've been up close with him. I've spoken to him a few times at press conferences, and he's a delight. He's a delight to watch. I mean,
with a hell of a backhand.
Yeah.
Watching him in Dallas, I was quite impressed because he doesn't have the typical American male backhand. It's a really thorough shot. So hopefully that doesn't justice over his career.
All right. I think that will do. Just to say that Jari was out as well. Mukova is through and Navoni through as well. And Cerebus Tormo too. All right. Listen, Miles, big thanks for that stream. And I'm sure we'll be crossing paths again very soon. I may as well at some point between now and the end of the US Open play your minute of watching Coco Gauff get over the line last year, but I'll also play, and I'll play it as we go out in a second, your little promo clip of 15-16 seconds of
thank you. I need to elongate that, and I was
thinking that it's a good 16-second thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, feel free to make a longer one and obviously send it across, and we'll use it on Talking Tennis from time to time.
But I need to find a way to scrub the internet from my Coco Gauff reaction video.
The other thing I would say about you, this is just my 16 seconds, is if you can find a longer one, that's obviously even better, especially one that sort of dwells at the end, showing us your socials.
Yeah, I can do that.
But it's up to you. I mean, just obvious. But listen, big thanks, Miles, and we'll speak to you soon.
All right, take care, everybody. Keep talking tennis.
And here comes the aforementioned video.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.